All right, let's dive into one of the weirdest but most powerful ideas in Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. We're talking about Law 38, and this one, it's all about the massive power you can get from just blending in. And on the flip side, the huge, sometimes disastrous dangers of trying to stand out.
I mean, think about it. We're told our whole lives to be yourself, right? Let your unique flag fly. But when it comes to the real world of power and influence, is that actually good advice? What we're going to unpack here is this really challenging idea that showing off how different you are at the wrong moment, that's not being brave. It's actually a massive strategic mistake.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this, we first have to talk about a super primal human instinct. It's our need to stick together, to be part of the group. And look, this isn't about being fake or anything. It's way deeper than that. It's basically a survival tactic that's hardwired into us.
And Greene's metaphor for this is just perfect. You know, the black sheep. See, the herd doesn't kick out the black sheep because it's evil or something. Nope. It gets shunned just because it's different. That one visible difference makes everyone else in the herd nervous and a little uneasy. And let's be real, in the social jungle we all live in, making other people feel uncertain about you, that's probably the fastest way to end up all alone. And boom, that brings us right to the core of this law. The message is frankly pretty brutal. Making a big show of your weird tastes or your controversial opinions, it's a fool's game. You almost never win any real fans that way. What usually happens is you just create suspicion and even resentment, because you're basically challenging the way the group thinks without giving them any good reason to listen. And get this isn't some new, cynical idea. This is wisdom coming from way back in the 17th century, from a philosopher named Balthasar Gracian. For literally hundreds of years, the smartest people in the game have known that the best place to keep your really radical ideas is right behind a totally normal, conventional-looking mask. It's all about playing the long game.
So, you want to see just how high the stakes can get? Let's jump into a real story from history. This is the tragic tale of a famous Spartan hero who lost everything. And the crazy part? It didn't happen on the battlefield. It happened at the dinner table. So this guy Pausanias, he was a total legend. He's the general who led the Greeks to this incredible victory over Persia. But then, after the war, he starts dressing like the Persians, enjoying all their fancy luxuries. Now, you have to understand, for his fellow Spartans, these are people who valued toughness and discipline over everything. This was way more than just weird. It felt like an insult. It was just alien. And it got them all thinking, wait a second, whose side is this guy really on?
And this is where the psychology gets really interesting. Whether he meant to or not, his actions were like a giant flashing sign that said, your Spartan way of life is boring and I'm better than it. He was, without saying a word, making them feel like their traditions were second-rate. And here's a universal truth. People do not like it when you make them feel insecure about who they are.
So in the end, they didn't get rid of him because he was a bad general. He was a great general. They got rid of him because he was a bad Spartan. He just completely misjudged how much his own people could handle someone being different. And man, he paid the highest price. All that originality, it brought him nothing but disaster. So, does this mean you should just be a mindless conformist forever? No, not at all. And this is where the law gets really fascinating. See, it's not a rule you follow all the time. It's about strategy, about timing. Blending in is like a shield you use when you're still climbing the ladder, when you're vulnerable. But once you've got so much power that no one can touch you, well, that's when the rules of the game can totally flip. All right, so let's flip this on its head and talk about the exception to the rule. This is when being different isn't a weakness, it's the ultimate power move. The magic words here are established power. Once you're so secure, so solid in your position that nobody can really challenge you, that's when you can afford to let your freak flag fly. Trying to do it before you've earned that status, it's not just a risk, it's a huge strategic blunder. Think about this. When President Lyndon Johnson held official meetings while he was on the toilet, that wasn't just weird. It was a raw signal to everyone that he was so powerful, the normal rules of society just didn't apply to him anymore. It's the same thing with the Roman Emperor Caligula making his horse a government official, or the crazy, flamboyant style of Oscar Wilde. These weren't mistakes. They were carefully crafted performances designed to show off their power. For these people, being different wasn't a risk at all. It was just more proof that they were untouchable. Their weird habits became part of their legend.
It just widened the gap between them and everybody else, proving they were playing on a completely different level. Their power literally transformed what would be a social crime for a normal person into a badge of honor for them.
Okay, so what does this all mean for us today? How do we walk this tightrope between fitting in and standing out? Well, it all boils down to being super strategic about how and when you show your unique side.
Like, the idea here isn't to kill your inner spark. It's about protecting it, nurturing it, until it can actually make a difference. So you work on your unique ideas in private. At the same time, you become an expert at understanding the social rules of whatever group you're in. The real power move is using your originality to guide what you do, your actions, while on the surface, you present a face that everyone can understand and accept. You don't want to freak out the very people you're trying to win over.
And that really gets to the heart of it. There's this huge contradiction in human nature, isn't there? We say we admire originality. We put rebels and innovators in our history books. But in our actual day-to-day lives, people who are truly different make us really uncomfortable. If you can learn to navigate that gap between what people say they admire and what they're actually comfortable with, you have a massive advantage.
So, I'll leave you with this final, kind of provocative question. We live in a world that is obsessed with authenticity, right? It's supposed to be the most important thing. But what if the most powerful move, maybe even the most authentic move, is to consciously and strategically choose how you show yourself to the world?